Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. Well, this battle has started rather quickly. This is an M44 Tier 6 American SPG. It's located on the eastbourne of Sand River Encounter, and it's under the command of Captain Pugwash. Now he's moving to a better firing position, probably slightly further south. That way he can get shots on the village as well as on the enemy tanks at the centre. Okay, that looks a good enough spot to fire from to start with. Okay, well he's got a 155mm howitzer, and that's capable of doing 550 alpha, and it'll penetrate up to 39mm of armour, and has a burst radius of 7 meters. Now he can launch a shell at the enemy every 16 seconds. At least we haven't seen the reload time yet, but I think we will very shortly. He's lining up a shot on those enemy tanks that are in the northern pass. They're just hiding at the moment. They don't really want to get shot by our guys who are just across the way. There's nothing else that he can shoot at the moment, so he's holding fire on this area for the moment. Now, one of the other best features about the M44 is the wide arc of fire. The gun is actually mounted in a swivel bracket, and that means he can...
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
He's just killed a heavy tank, yep. He can actually change his target within the field of fire without getting significant reticule bloom. And that's because the vehicle doesn't actually have to move, just the gun swivels in the mount. Okay, goes for the Panzer III-4. Misses, I'm afraid, on that one. He's going for the Skoda T24 next. Almost loaded. Just lining up the shot, waiting for the guy to move into the reticule. That looks good. Rounds out. Lands just short of the target, but it still did some stun damage of, well, some splash damage of 40 hit points, and it's forced the Skoda to back off. Now that Panzer T25, that's a nice target. Very light armour. Round out and misses, I'm afraid. No, he pulls back in time. Okay, VK3002M there, that's the Panther prototype. Just almost ready to shoot. Okay, rounds out. But he pulled away before we saw what actually happened to the shell, so we've no idea if he hit the target or not. And that's very important information, because if you do fire at a spot where you think the enemy might be, if the enemy is there, you will get no explosion, and that tells you he's still there, and you can use that information to hit him again. So it's very important to follow up and see what happens to the shell. Skoda T24 backing up. He's still staying in that general area. Fires around at his track. Oh, beautiful shot. That's his second kill. And that Panzer IV-H has also got a derp gun, the 105mm, and he's making a run for it. And somebody is capping. In fact, some of the enemy tanks are getting fairly close to Captain Pugwash's position. You might want to pay attention to that. At the moment, he's looking near the enemy spawn point, way over on the other side of the battlefield. But there is an M4A1 fairly close to his position, who's actually duking it out with some of his own teammates. And there's nothing to spot his own teammates over there, or spot the enemy. We know that there's an enemy tank in the cap, but it's only one. Can't see where he is at the moment, but he's probably behind the buildings to protect himself from Arty. It's more than likely he's doing that. Rounds out and no damage. Well, that M4A1's been punished, and we might be about to see where the enemy tank is in the camp, because one of our guys is getting fairly close, the T34. We just saw a Striv M42 south of the cap area. Still focusing on that cap. Here comes our guy, the T3485. He hasn't found him yet. We're focusing on the Striv. Lining up a shot. Rounds out. Bit late, I think. And, well, the enemy capper has been found. It's the T150, and the T3485 goes in for the kill. And it might be him who's getting killed, actually, because he's low on hit points, and the T150 is fairly healthy. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to lose our teammate. Yeah, it looks very much like we're going to lose him. Yeah, he's gone. Big mistake by the T34, but he did actually reveal where the T150 was, and that could be useful to us. We fire around at him. Didn't get any damage, but we reset the cap. And he is tracked at the moment, so we just keep piling those rounds in on him. Okay, almost ready to go. Okay, we're loaded. Rounds out again. Direct hit for 203. More cap defense points. Looks like another enemy tank. Was that a shot from somebody knocked down the camp in the cap? I thought for a second there was a second enemy tank in the cap, but it's only showing one. So it must only be that T150. We're loaded. Rounds out in the T150. Another hit. More cap defense points. He's changing the angle of the wreck to provide more cover. So he obviously intends to stay behind the wreck. And if he stays there again, he's going to get killed. Rounds out. Here we go. Yep, he's gone. Big mistake there by the T150. He should have moved to a position where he couldn't be seen by the Churchill down in the riverbed, and that way he could have continued capping without us knowing exactly where he was. But no, he was determined to stay behind the wreck and keep shooting at the Churchill. Well, there's nothing for us to shoot at over in the cap area, so he's now looking over on the west side of the map. He's found an M10 RBFM, but you need to give long lead on these targets, otherwise you won't hit them because they're a long way away, so it's a long delay time. A flight time of the shell is about 4 seconds from one end of the map to the other. So he's got a Striv M42 and the other one's an M10 RBFM. He fires a round in. Nope. Again, I think we've got a lack of spotters down there, which is causing the problem. The nearest tank is a T3485M, but he's on that rise just below the plateau or the mount, the spotting area, just above the enemy spawn point. Going for the Striv. Line up the shot. Rounds out. That's going to be near. It is 94. Tracked him. And we lost the T3485. The Nashorn got him. So it's now 4 tanks left on either side. And we've got nobody to spot the guys up on that west side of the map. And one of our tanks has moved into the cap, the Churchill 1. And that might be a bit of a mistake. It's the same mistake that the T150 made. Ideally, both the Panzer IV-H and the Nashorn ought to take up positions on the cliff, on the north edge of the riverbed, and somebody goes into the cap, either the Panzer IV-H or the Churchill 1, and the other two stay outside and shoot at whoever comes to try and reset the cap. And that's the way you work it. He's firing blind shots into this hill area, but we can't see any targets, so there's no guarantee. There's the Nashorn. He's now facing off against the Panzer IV-H, and unfortunately just killed him. Now, long lead, and I'm afraid the vehicle had to move there, so his reticules bloomed considerably is when he altered, and he's constantly moving the vehicle. And while you do that, obviously it blooms the reticule again, and we've lost sight of the Nashorn, and that's a blind shot to nowhere. So there are 4 enemy tanks out there. There's only 3 on our team. We lost the Panzer IV-H, and now the Striv M42 is trying to reset the Churchill. And we're now aiming at the wrong target. And although the Churchill has killed one of them, he kills the Striv. I'm afraid, yep, Captain Pugwash is looking at the wrong target. He should be looking at the cap area, trying to take out that M10. And instead he's looking at the riverbed, and there's nothing to see there. There's nobody to spot for him. It's a complete waste. What he needs to be doing is aiming at the M10. Ignore the Nashorn. Ignore the M44. Just go for the M10. Expedite what you can see. The Churchill's trying to stay behind the wreckage or the town. Oh, and there's the M10 again. Line him up. Put a round into him. Okay. Rounds out. Good hit. 222. That's better. And put another one into him. Almost ready. Work out where he's headed. Rounds out. That's going to hit the building, I think. Oh, no. Went behind him and we've lost the Churchill. Which means now it's only our Nashorn and he's just been found by the enemy Nashorn and wiped out. Which means Captain Pugwash is now all alone. So sadly, this does not look as if it's going to end up favourably. But the best thing for Captain Pugwash to do right now is to set up an ambush to take out the Nashorn. Because it looks like he's travelling towards our position. In fact, I suspect that the M10 and the Nashorn are probably going to ignore the cap and probably come and try and take out Captain Pugwash. And so what he needs to do is come out of Arty aim, move to a position where he can actually ambush these guys and then take them out that way. Because he won't see them until they get really close. Well, somebody's gone into the cap, and if it's not the M10... No, it's not the M10 because he's close, so it must be the M44. The M10 is really close, and he's not looking where he's supposed to be looking. That's it, there he is. And he kills the M10. One right in the face, but he was seen. The Nashorn is nearby. There he is. And he's almost loaded. Now, go for it. Try and take out the Nashorn. He stopped to shoot. And he's got the Nashorn too. Nice shotgun. That means there's only the enemy M44 left. But he needs to change course. Yep, he's doing it. He missed. He dodged the shot. It was very close. But he thought that Captain Pugwash would go forward, and he did, but he changed course, and that threw off the enemy M44. Unfortunately, knocking down those trees also gives away our position to the enemy, but I think if he knows we're going to come to the cap and try and reset him. Oh! Damaged his tracks, but that's all, thank God. Now, it's pretty obvious to the M44, he's going to be working out exactly where Captain Pugwash is going to come from. If he comes over the ridgeline to the south, he's going to see him before he can get his aim on target. The best way to come at him is to go down the riverbed, get close to the cap, and then drive up from the riverbed, or to go behind the M44 up the riverbed and approach him from the west. And he's found him. Oh, close. He was very close to getting a shotgun there, but unfortunately the enemy M44 was much quicker on the draw. And unfortunately it is a defeat. But it was so close. Let's have a look at the end of battle stats. Well, it was a bruiser medal for Captain Pugwash in the M44. He got 17 critical hits in that game. He also picked up a fighter basher, getting at least 4 kills. He got 5. If he killed that M44, he not only would have won the battle, he would have ended up with the top gun as well. But sadly, no medals at all, no tank classification. So let's have a look at team score. Well, we can see he didn't get the highest damage in the game. That actually went to the T-3485M on our team with 2,740 hit points. He got the high caliber. The next high scorer was the Nashorn on the enemy team with 1957, and after him it was that M44 with 1798. Captain Pugwash got 1715, so it's not a disgrace, it's actually quite good. He was up there at the top in 4th place, but unfortunately it was a loss. When it came to kills, he got the top. He got 5 kills, 1/3 of the enemy team, 2 of which were killed by shotgun, or at least well, one of them was killed by shotgun, the other one was killed by an aim shot at close range. And then the Nashorn managed to get 4, the M44 and T-3485 managed to get 3 kills each. When it came to base XP though, it was actually the M44 and the enemy team with 1005, Then we've got the Nashorn with 862, and third we've got the T-3485M on our team with 849. We can see Captain Pugwash wasn't too far behind. He got 544. He fired 25 rounds, got 9 direct hits, 2 penetrations and 12 splash. Damage of 1,715 hit points, of which 1,284 were at more than 300 meters. So you can see a bit of close in action there. 2 hits received from the enemy, 2 penetrations in fact, 1 from the Nashorn, 1 from the M44, and that was the fatal one. 7 enemy vehicles damaged, 5 killed and 131 hit points of damage assistance, and he got 250 hit points of stun assist off 8 stuns. He actually managed to get 22 defense points on that T-150 when he kept resetting him, and he probably could have got more if he'd let him reset for, or if he'd let him stay in the cap for longer and just kept on drilling him every now and then with a nice little round. He earned 20,962 credits from the game, and after repair and ammunition resupply took away 16,072 credits. He got 554 XP, and he also took away 816, so there's something there that What Replays is not telling us about. Yeah, I think there were some mistakes during the game. My honest opinion is that what he should have been doing is only looking at tanks or in areas where his tanks could see, rather than in areas where he thought the enemy might be and that he might take blind shots. The problem is that we are so reliant as Arty on what our teammates can actually see. So where you should be looking is within, say, 300 meters of each of your teammates. And those are the spots where you should be anticipating where the enemy will appear. So there was that M10 RBFM and the other enemy tank, I think it was the Skoda, not the Skoda, the Striv M44, were out in the desert to the south side of that lookout, and he was looking and firing into the lookout instead of firing at the M10 and Striv, and those were the ones that he really should have been going for and kept hitting those. Because they were the only ones visible, and it was the T-3485 was spotting them. But once the T-3485 was dead, there was nobody to spot them. So at that point, he should stop shooting at them and only shoot at something that we definitely can see. And so unfortunately, on this occasion, he ran out of teammates because they weren't playing very tactically. As I said during the battle, on Sand River Encounter, the idea is to capture the cap or wipe out all the enemy team. When you've got a situation where the enemy does have an advantage in numbers, sometimes it can be better to lay a trap for the enemy and try and get the enemy to come to the cap and then kill them as they come in to get the reset. And the way you do that is, as I said, you set up a trap with the shooters sitting on the ridgeline above the riverbed, just north of the river on that crest of the hill in cover using the bushes, and a bait tank goes into the cap, starts capping behind some cover, so the enemy has to come in close to see them, and that's the point that the shooters see them and start hitting them, and especially the Arty, because Arty can shoot from just about any angle and hit these guys as they start coming in to get the resets, and that's when you can kill them off one by one, because usually they'll all come in one by one instead of actually coming in all together at the same time. But if they do come in all together at the same time, this is where Arty can really be helpful by damaging or immobilizing some of the tanks whilst the others deal with the ones who are very dangerous. So just a few tips on how I deal with encounter battles, or I don't come into them that often, but I do know that the thing about Sand River Encounter is to try and set a trap for the enemy. And unfortunately, he ran out of teammates, but he did do very well with the M10 RBFM and also with that Nashorn. He dealt with them expertly. It was just he was caught out by the M44, and if he'd gone up the riverbed, he wouldn't have seen the M44. The M44 would have come around that corner looking for Captain Pugwash and wouldn't have seen him. He wouldn't have been there. He would have been going up the river and they would have missed each other. But Captain Pugwash would have come in behind the enemy M44, who probably would have turned around and gone back to the cap. And that's when Captain Pugwash could have ambushed him. So bad luck on not getting that kill, because it was so close. He was so close to getting it. But better luck next time. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like and do subscribe to our channel, and thank you for watching.